into the process.
I call the honourable member Katrina Shanks.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I think the issues have been well debated in this House today on this bill. I look forward to making a contribution at further readings. I support this bill to the House, Mr Speaker.
I call the honourable member Sue Moroney.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. It is indeed a surprise pleasure for me, actually, to be speaking on the Habeas Corpus Amendment Bill. It's not a bill I ever anticipated that I would be speaking on, and I feel almost certain that it's not a bill that Chris Oakenfold came to this House to deliver either, but such are the vagaries of political life that Chris Oakenfold has nonetheless put forward this bill as being his major piece of contribution and piece of work in this Parliament, and I have found myself speaking on his work in this regard. I do want to just start, Mr Speaker, my contribution by reminding people about what the purpose of this bill is. What the bill describes is that its purpose is that the procedure for dealing with habeas corpus applications have been misused, whereby some applications have obtained priority hearings which should have been dealt with by other means. Oh, the irony. Oh, the irony, Mr Speaker, because in fact this bill, which is designed to stop processes being misused that can be used by other means, is in fact guilty of that itself. This bill has been used in exactly that way, because this bill ought to be a government bill. It ought to have been debated on all of those days that we get all of the time in this Parliament to debate the government's business. That's where this bill belongs. But instead we are taking up precious time on a Members' Day, which I'll just remind members of the public listening, only happen on every second sitting Wednesday of the House, so they do not happen very frequently at all. And yet this business, that ought to be the government's business, has landed on a Members' Day. So in fact it's guilty of doing the thing, of being used. This bill is being used for the very purpose that it actually says that it's going to stop in a different regard. So I think that's hugely ironic, Mr Speaker. I've been very disappointed by the contributions from the government members because, as I said, this ought to have been a very simple piece of government legislation. But here they are, taking up time on a Members' Day, and yet members that I actually have a great deal of respect for, and Chris Oakenfold is one of those. I have a great deal of respect for that member, and I think it's a great shame he's been put in the position by his party of actually playing this game and having an insignificant bill brought before the House in his name. I know he's better than that. I know he's better than that. And then there's Alfred Naro, who I had expected to gain some respect for. I've heard quite a lot about his background from my colleagues. I had expected that I would gain respect for him in his time in the House. But we hardly ever hear from Alfred Naro in this House, and when we do, it's the 10-second contribution that he got up on his feet to give before. And I think his community did not send him here to this place to give that sort of lack of regard to his role here as a Member of Parliament by giving that sort of lack of contribution in the House, and I think it's very disappointing. But what are they really trying to hide here? What are they trying to do, Mr Speaker? What they are trying to do, let's make it loud and clear, is to stop New Zealanders from seeing and hearing debated all the fantastic Labor policy that has been translated into members' bills, because that is the only opportunity as the opposition that we have to actually put our ideas forward for debate in this Parliament is through members' bills. That government is so frightened of the public hearing our fantastic plan and policy, where they have none, that they have started putting these insignificant bills into the ballot to try and crowd ours out. That, Mr Speaker, is what this is all about. They know that they would be exposed as having absolutely no plan, and doesn't this bill exhibit exactly that? and they don't want the public to see that Labor does have a very detailed plan, some of which is actually described in some of our members' bills. And I think it's wrong that the government is using Members' Day in this way. I've been fortunate enough, it has taken 6 years, Mr Speaker, but I have been fortunate enough, after 6 long years, to have 2 members' bills drawn out within 12 months of each other. 2 of them. And I wish that that would happen for all of my colleagues' bills as well. But it makes it much more difficult when National Party MPs are using the bill in this way.
I call the honourable member Dr Kennedy Graham.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I just rise to join my colleague David Clendon